Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at this 2022 Ford F450 Platinum Super Duty with the FX4 package. Huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this massive truck for me today. They have a massive selection of pre-owned inventory. Definitely take a look at their website. That link is down in the description. But the F450 that you see behind me is finished off in agate black, and they have a starting MSRP right around $88,000. And we'll start off today's review with what powers this F450. Underneath the hood is the 6.7 liter PowerStroke turbo diesel V8 paired to the 10-speed automatic transmission. This pumps out 475 horsepower around 2,600 RPM and 1,050 pound-feet of torque around 1,600 RPM. That power sent to the rear wheels. However, like I said, with the FX4 package, this has the four-wheel drive system. It weighs in right around 8,500 pounds and has a fuel capacity of 48 gallons. This has a wheelbase of 176 inches. Its overall length is 266.2. It has a width of 96 inches, a height of 82.1, and its ground clearance measures in at 8.6 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this F450, let's start off with just how large this front end is. This is a massive dually, so it's going to be a large truck, and all of the proportions still look very nice together. Now with the Ford logo right in the middle, it is very large. It also has an integrated forward-facing camera to give you that added visibility, so that way you can see past the hood, of course, from the driver's seat. The grille is finished off in chrome and has a lot of cutouts to provide even more cooling to this engine. There's some more trim pieces on both sides surrounded in chrome, and it matches nicely and flows well with these massive LED headlights on both sides. I like how the housing actually wraps around the outer section of this grille, and this does have LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals. Now the LED fog lights are just below that, mounted in the lower bumper, which is body colored, and you can see there's some black trim pieces on the top of it just to break it up a little bit. Now there's more cutouts in the very lower section along with tow hooks on both sides. This even has a front air dam just to provide better aerodynamics. Fuel economy is not important for this truck since this is built for towing, but that can at least help just a little bit. Now up on the hood, Super Duty is stamped running right across the front end, which isn't new for the Ford models. I think it's a great touch to see. And then all of the lines running down the hood just add to the beefiness of the front end for this F450, so it has a great presence to it. Now as we move on to the side, something odd with this F450 is the fact that it has a set of 19.5-inch wheels all around. So very odd size to see, but of course being a dually, it has that design for the dually wheels both in the front and the rear, and it even has very massive fender flares poking out a good bit for the front, and we'll get another angle at those back ones here in just a second. Now the F450 Platinum badge is finished off in chrome, along with all the badging in the lower section of the door. And this actually has the PowerScope side mirrors, so they will extend for towing to give you some better visibility. There's also a camera mounted in the lower section, as well as the integrated turn signal. Ford is also spelled out in that housing too. And then up on the roof, this has the roof clearance LED lights running at the top of the windshield, along with having the full moonroof too. Now all the window trim is blacked out with the exception of the chrome trim piece in the lower section, which matches the door handles. It even matches the trim on the power side steps. So if I walk up to the truck and open up the door, they will automatically deploy. Makes it much easier to enter and exit this massive truck. And when you shut the door, they will quickly retract, giving you that added ground clearance, which is of course great to see. Now if we take a step back, you can see with the proportions of this specific model, this has the longer 8-foot bed. So you have a lot of practicality to fit a lot of items in the back. And then another look at the rear fender arches. It's pretty much the entire bedside to cover the dually in the back. And then this has the dual tip exhaust coming out of that passenger side. And then finishing up in the rear, this has a backup camera. Platinum is spelled out right in the middle of the tailgate along with Super Duty. This has a body colored rear bumper with all of the parking sensors. And then this can tow around 24,000 pounds with the conventional method, right around 32,000 pounds if you add the gooseneck option, which is in the bed of course. And it also has a payload capacity right around 3,400 pounds. So if you need something that is going to tow, this F450 is going to get the job done. Now with the exterior wrapped up, let's make our way to the bed space. I can double tap the button on the key fob and that bed will automatically slowly lower down, which is great to have. You can use the button inside of course. And then looking at this bed, it has the full bed liner. You can see the mounts for that fifth wheel. Plenty of tie down hooks as well. Over on this driver's side, there are some outlets, so you can use these as needed. There's cargo lights too. Definitely a lot of space. And then you'll notice that the fender arches are pretty small, so that gives you a lot more versatility to place in some larger items. And then this also has the step in the tailgate. So all you need to do is push on this button, the step will retract. You can also pull out the handle too, and it makes it much easier to enter and exit this truck, especially if you're using this every single day. And then you can quickly put everything back into the truck, and with one hand, you can easily close it up. So it's not really a heavy tailgate, even with all those components located inside. Now, before we take a look at the interior, this does have remote start. So if I lock it and then double tap this button, you will hear it start up. Really great feature to have, especially for the turbo diesel. And if I double tap on it again, you can shut the truck off if you need to. Now I'm gonna unlock it from the key fob, and then looking at the rear door panel now, this has a really nice design to it. You can see all of the leather, the wood trim, even the chrome trim. I really like how on the Fords, the release handle is integrated on the back side of the grab handle, so that way you really can't see it. This also has the 10-speaker audio sound system, a little bit of storage in the middle of the door as well as in the lower section. And as you can tell with that power side step currently deployed and the grab handle up top, it's very easy to jump up into this truck. Now with the front seat set at my height, I am 5'10". I have plenty of room for my feet and my legs. There are 2 cup holders right in the middle, along with air vents. There's also some auxiliaries, and this even has heated seats, which is really nice to see. Now, as far as headroom goes, I have a few inches above my head. Being a full-size truck, you would expect to have all this room, so it's definitely very comfortable. I could easily have 2 other people next to me in the back. You'll notice too, the Platinum badge is right underneath the headrest, and right in the middle of the seat, there are 2 cup holders along with this armrest. This even has the automatic sliding rear glass, so you can open and close that as needed. And then there's plenty of room with these seats down. There's also plenty of room when you fold these seats up. So on each side, all you need to do is grab this, and then you can fold both of the bottoms up, giving you a really nice flat surface to place in any items if you need this for extra storage. So you definitely have a lot of versatility in the back of this F450. Now, as we make our way to the driver's seat now, the door panels finish off just like up front, with the addition of the memory seating adjustments, all the window controls. Like I mentioned earlier, with those PowerStroke side mirrors, you can deploy those as needed if you're towing, just to give yourself some more visibility, and there's the same amount of storage as well. And then these front seats are finished off in the same black leather with a hint of red stitching running down the bolsters. So it's a really nice design to see. And then just like in the rear, we can easily hop up into this truck and we can shut the door. It opens pretty wide, so it gives you a lot of versatility to get in and out. Now the steering wheel is completely covered in solid black leather with more of that stitching, along with all this brushed trim surrounding it. Now on this right side, there's volume and tuning for the radio, all the Bluetooth and voice commands. On this left side, there's cruise control, and all of these are for the gauge cluster. But let's fire this F450 back up. With my foot on the brake, that button is over on the right side, and we can bring this back to life. And looking at this gauge cluster, over on the left side is the tach, on the right side is the miles per hour, and right in the middle, running across the top, is some fixed information like the fuel level and some other engine vitals. And underneath that, you can go through a lot more information. Currently, this is on the off-road tab, so you can see pitch and roll as well as the degrees for the steering wheel. If I go over into settings now, you can go through all of these standard safety features like the blind spot, your cross-traffic alert, driver alert, and all this information. There's even cruise control and the lane keeping assist, some other settings that you can monitor too. Now, if I scroll over to towing, you can go through all this information and the checklist needed. When you have a trailer hooked up, you can make sure that you are ready to go before you hit the road. You can also go into truck information, go through the temperatures, some engine information, even look at your gauge view so you can monitor all of this information, just depending on what you'd like to see. Now, if we go back and scroll over to trip and fuel, you can monitor all of that information. And then under my view, this is basically a customizable setting. So currently it's showing trip, fuel economy, off-road status, and a few other settings here. And you can configure this just depending on what you'd like to get to the quickest. So you have some information to go through, which is nice to see. Now, as we make our way to the left side of the steering wheel, you'll see these spotlights, which are located on the side view mirrors. You can turn those on and off if you're using this truck at night. It gives you some more visibility. All of the headlight and fog light adjustments are just underneath that, along with a dimmer switch for the gauges. You can also deploy the tailgate, and you can move the pedals forwards and backwards to give yourself a little bit more comfort, just depending on your size. Now, there's a brush trim piece surrounding one air vent. There's some leather on the dash, part of the Bang & Olufsen sound system, along with a good amount of storage space where you could place some items. And then right in the middle, we have this massive touchscreen system. Now, just above that, there are a few buttons. We have the engine braking along with traction control, the lane keeping assist. There's also a shortcut to the camera system. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. We're looking at the forward-facing camera and the top-down view. And then you have a few other angles, just depending on what you'd like to see. So you even have one for the bed, looking down at the trailer hitch, and then the full rear view. So it's nice to have that amount of visibility for the size of this truck. And then if I just push on that button, we can go back to this, where you have a lot more information to go through. And in the lower section is basically all the presets. So starting on the left side, there's audio. You can go into your phone when you have that paired. Pull up the navigation to view that in full screen. And then under vehicle settings, you can go through all this information, look at the ambient lighting, even the door keypad, which I did not show. You can use that to enter and exit the vehicle by putting in your code, or you can use the key fob, of course. You can go into apps, so go through the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and then the last one is settings, where you can go through all this general information, just depending on what you like to see. And then as you can tell, over on this right side, this has had the split screen the entire time, where you can pull up some other information. So you can have two different views going. You can even push this button here and go through that information just by scrolling through it. So it's nice to be able to do that. You can have the navigation on and still go through some other information. So it's great to have that for this outgoing F450. Now there's an air vent on both sides. And then below that, there's power and volume for the radio as well as tuning. You can actually shut that upper screen off and go to more of a calm screen if you'd like to, just depending on how you'd like to view that. There's a few other controls underneath that. Over on the passenger side, there's some auxiliaries where you can charge electronics if you need to. On this left side is the control for four-wheel drive, so you can go through that. This also has the Pro Trailer Backup System, so if you've never backed up a trailer before, that will aid you in doing so, along with having the trailer braking system. And then right in the middle is all the climate adjustments. So just by turning on this left dial, you can see the temperature adjust. You can shut this off. This has the dual zone. There's more controls right in the middle. These are even heated and ventilated seats, so you can see those on both sides. Fan speed adjustment is right in the middle, finished off in brushed aluminum. And then just by pushing on the left one, I can shut that back off. Now working our way below that, there's a wireless charging pad along with the auxiliaries on that left side. And if I close this, it has a really nice finish to it. You can hide all of those items as needed. There's even more of that brush trim on the left and the right side. Right in the middle is a massive storage bin. There's two cup holders on that right side. There's even more hidden storage space on this left side and right side if you need to use it. And looking at the center armrest, it's finished off in leather. If I open this up, there is a massive amount of room with that removable tray if you need to move that out of the way. So you can definitely fit a lot of items underneath the center armrest. And then over on the passenger side, Super Duty is stamped in the upper glove box, which has a little bit of space, not the most usable, but it is there if you need it. And then the lower glove box has plenty of room for all of that information. Now we'll take another look at the interior, which has a really nice design to it, pretty simple and clean at the same time. And then up in the headliner here on the back side, we have all these auxiliaries. So if you have exterior lighting, compressors, anything that you need to hook up, you have all these factory switches. Behind that, this is how you can open up that sliding rear glass. There's a sunglass holder right in the middle, which is convenient to have. And then all the adjustments for the sunshade and the sunroof are just in front of that. So if I push on one of these buttons, the sunshade will go all the way to the back passengers there. So it definitely provides a lot of light. The sunroof adjustment is right in the middle, and the dome lights are on both sides. But as we get behind the wheel now of this outgoing Ford F450, I did forget to mention there's a few drive modes. On the end of the stock, we have normal, tow and haul, eco, slippery, and then deep snow and sand. So if you plan on taking your F450 off the pavement, maybe at the beach, you can put it into the sand setting there, but we just have it in normal for the moment. And as you saw, pulling out of that parking lot there, it's a massive truck. There's no denying how big this truck is. We're going line to line right now. I've been in the F450 a few times, and I own a Tacoma, so it could probably fit in the bed of this thing. But going from that to this massive dually, it's not really that hard to drive. It's easy to keep within the lanes. I have a pretty high seating position, so I can almost look over all of these signs that I'm passing on the road. So you have a high presence. It's not hard to drive though. You can get used to it. But like I mentioned earlier, this is the outgoing F450. The 2023 will hopefully be the newer model. Maybe it might be a 2024. I'm not sure if they're skipping a year or not. But in this F450, we have the large screen, which is fairly new. for the F-Series trucks, and we have a great interior. I don't know how much better it can get. We'll just have to wait and see. But if you're looking for this truck now, this is a very good option. I love how capable this is. It'd be cool to do a towing test with this truck to see how much it can actually tow versus the specs that I read earlier. But if you need a work truck, you need a workhorse, and you are doing a lot of towing, this F450 is a great option. It's also a great daily driving option. If you're putting a lot of seat time behind the wheel, we'll give it some gas with an empty truck here. And we're up to speed. We're all the way up into 8th, 9th, and almost 10th gear there. And like I mentioned earlier, with the horsepower and torque, it's a pretty quick truck. There's no 0 to 60 or top speed really for these trucks that they advertise, along with the MPG, because you know you're buying this for work purposes, for towing. You're not really worried about MPG getting up to 0 to 60. I mean, you can get up quick enough. I'd say maybe 6 seconds, somewhere around there. It's a heavy truck, but it's got plenty of torque to get it up and moving. And as we switch over to the POV angle now, you can see what it's like to be behind the wheel. Let's give it a little bit of gas. And just like that, we're up to speed. Now, even though this truck has 10 gears, it really doesn't feel like it has as many gears as having 10 gears. You can feel the shifts kind of being a little bit abrupt, getting through maybe 6, 7, 8, just depending on how much you give the truck some gas, because obviously it needs to see which gear that it's in. But I do like that it has 10 gears, because that is going to make it easier, especially when you're towing. You have more gears to play with, and then you have more gears for cruising out on the highway to get those RPMs at a low range to help save some MPG. So I've been in a lot of 10-speed Ford trucks and cars, and I think it's a really good system, but you can feel it either shift quick or skip a couple gears if you give it a lot of gas. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel of this F450. And as we come up to this cul-de-sac, we have a car in our way there, along with an animal on that side. But as you can tell, turning this steering wheel, look at how tight this is. I mean, it might be hard to tell, but I don't even have to turn around because of how tight that steering is. So I think that is a big benefit, especially for the size of this truck. It makes it a lot more maneuverable and daily driver friendly. And a look at visibility as we come up to the stop sign. It's very easy to see all around. I love the fact that we have the 360 camera system, because that definitely aids in visibility. Not only with that, but if you have a trailer too, you can get the visibility that you need. And we'll do another acceleration, just mild. For a roughly 8,400 pound vehicle, that was 45. Not even quarter throttle, just a nice gradual acceleration. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this 2022 Ford F450 Platinum FX4. Once again, a huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing the Super Duty for me today. Again, check out their website. They have a massive selection of nearly new and pre-owned inventory. That link is down below. Give the video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.